Well, happy Saturday, everyone. It is the 31st of October. Happy Halloween to everyone. And we're going to help you kick off your college Saturday. Let me go ahead and bring on the other man here, Mr. Justin Hicks, who seems to be having some internet trouble.
A little bit. Is that my end? Yours?
Yeah.
What's
looks
good?
like it's your end.
It's probably my end because I got all hyped up. This is the first time I've been up 3 hours ahead of time. Like, yeah, let's get some college football in. And it's
you know what? Wore out your internet while you was up.
Yeah. Plus, I put this question. That was the last bit of the curse. You know, anytime you touch anything WVU, it's supposed to turn to gold. It don't always. Turns into another.
Yeah, that's pretty true, man. We're going to go ahead and move it along. We ain't going to waste no time this morning. Let's go ahead and get some previous scores. Well, shit. Hold on, guys. I'm in the wrong week.
It happens. Each week's getting better now. Everything, you know. Obviously, we've had some COVID stuff, but that's going to be every week, I feel.
Yeah, that's very, very true. To go ahead and talk about a little bit of news that's going on, we'll go ahead and talk about it real quick before we get around to it. For those that don't know, that Clemson's quarterback has COVID. He will not be playing today. We will see how that develops out. If he's got the same doctors as Nick Saban had, he should be on the field within game time.
I think Dabo and the crew get the best health for him, get the best possible care because, yeah, this is somewhat of a game. It's all these are conference games, but next week you got Notre Dame, number 4, and it's high stakes. The kid starting today is DJ. I'm gonna butcher the last name. DJ Uiagalelei. I don't know if that's right. But we'll see what he's got. 3rd-ranked quarterback from this class, 6'4" freshman. So we'll see if he's Trevor Lawrence-like. This is the time to get the jitters out.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Oh, well, looky here. Look at what we got over here in the comments. Well,
Miss Panty Dropper herself.
Real men of genius.
Brandon Randall. It's
Real men of genius.
He's something else, boy. Something else. Justin, what I'm going to get you to do is I'm going to get you to exit out and then come back in and see if that helps. Sometimes it does and sometimes it don't.
Okay. All right. Let me do that.
While he's doing that real quick, we'll go ahead and talk about the first game that's up. You got Arkansas State at Appalachian State. App got that done. We're not going to focus too much on the bullshit games for the recap of the scores. Clemson beats the shit out of Syracuse 47-21. As we talk, Lawrence is out with a COVID this coming up week. Alabama and Tennessee, Tide keeps rolling over Tennessee 48-17. Jones had 387 yards in this game. Najee Harris with 96 rushing. Alabama keeps looking good as always. Let me see if my co-host's Wi-Fi is a little better.
How's it doing? How's it work?
It's a little glitchy still, but it ain't as bad as it was.
It's been my.
Next up, we got Notre Dame and Pittsburgh. Notre Dame beats Pittsburgh 45-3. This really threw my upset alert out the damn window. Next up, you had Nebraska and Ohio State. Nebraska with major slippage, but we said last week that Nebraska did not probably have the talent to hang with Ohio State. Ohio State gets the win 52-17. Fields had 276 yards in this game. You had Iowa State versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State gets it done 24-21 in a close one, but that was a number 17 and a number 6 school. Penn State drops a big one to Indiana. We're going to talk a little bit more about them later. Maybe a little shit talking they should be talking going into a game against Ohio State. That game went into overtime, by the way. Cincinnati and SMU. SMU gets their loss on the season. Cincinnati beats them 42-13. That kind of broke my heart a little bit. But SMU, it's even shocking they're in the top 25. So you can't get too mad about it. Miami versus Virginia. Miami squeaks out a win against them, 19-14. Let's see. Michigan and Minnesota. This was actually a game that went a totally opposite way I thought it would go. Michigan puts up 49 on Minnesota, which was shocking. You had Virginia and Wake Forest. Wake Forest beats Virginia Tech 23-16. Let's see. Who else was another good matchup? Oh, and to also talk about it, Marshall won.
Baby, yeah, I'm gonna quit repping this and wear the green.
Thunder and Herd gets another win. Also, Coastal Carolina gets another win. They're still undefeated. Michigan State drops one to Rutgers, 27-38. And also the LSU defending national champions look like they're a little bit back on track. They thumped South Carolina 52-24. That kind of scares me us going in there and playing them. They put up 52 points on Carolina, and Auburn struggled so damn hard against them.
Yeah, an 8 loss. Can you hear me all right now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Next up, you had Hawaii and Fresno State. Hawaii puts up 34 on Fresno State, and they get the win. And that's going to about round it up for. Oh, and let's go ahead and mention just for El Presidente, the boss of pinfall, UTSA did get that win last week, 27-26 over Louisiana Tech. I took them just because of him. So
right, you have to.
I had to because I ain't got no connection to Louisiana Tech, but I ain't gonna lie, I did not really think they would probably beat them. It's San Antonio College, man. I mean,
right. Not doing too bad from what I'd seen, though. I mean, record-wise earlier.
Right. Let me go ahead and get Mr. Panty Dropper off here. We don't want to drive the ladies crazy too much having to see this picture.
It's early in the morning. I mean,
yeah, not this early in the morning now, you know. That could be why he's got all those kids. Panty Dropper. His wife wakes up looking at all that sexiness and she can't control herself. All right, next, we're going to go ahead and move it along. We already got some games that played this week. Thursday, you had South Alabama and Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern gets this done 24-17. Colorado State and Fresno State played. Fresno State gets this done 38-17 over Colorado State. Let's see. What's another good one? Friday, you had Minnesota and Maryland. This is a high-scoring game. It went into overtime.
Yeah, 45-44 loss. Minnesota lost. Again, it's starting off 0-2.
Yeah, starting off 0-2, which is shocking, especially since they're all saying that Auburn needs to hire their coach up there. So,
yeah, it kind of makes you want. I had that question for you. We'll get into that a little bit when we get to Auburn, but yeah, I still got faith in him. Maybe Minnesota could be going back to the old Golden Gophers.
What is
way of thinking.
Tula's brother's first name? I know it's not Tula, is it? He just got a
The
T
only thing
here,
I
so I
know-
don't know.
That-
Trevor,
I didn't
maybe?
even. No, it's Samoan. It's a Samoan name. Is it?
Okay.
Tuna? It's not Tuna. Tunia or something. I don't know.
It could be
300, almost 400 passing yards in that game.
394. That's pretty impressive. Alabama might have let one slip through their fingers there, keeping him on the bench some. So maybe should have gave him a start every now and then. Threw him a bone. Next up, you had East Carolina and Tulsa. This was a tight one too. Tulsa squeaks out 34-30. Hawaii dropped a big one here. Who did I pick? Did I pick in that game? Yes, I did. I picked Wyoming. Wyoming won 31-7. I just took a shot in the dark on that game.
I just found their coach is Todd Graham, the guy that had been to like 7 programs in 5 years, just leaving, bouncing around. So maybe that's catching up with him now. He's in Hawaii, different time zone, all that.
Yeah, right. That's big talk from the defending national champions who's been struggling all year.
Are we both setting it? What's the records? Is it 2-2?
I think it is.
This is a big up for. This is bragging rights.
Yeah, because ain't neither one of them win a national championship. So that's all. That's all on the damn thing on the line.
37 bowl games have been revealed. So going to the Tulip Bowl is what I want to know.
Yeah, Auburn likes those bowls. That's where Gus loses another game.
Hey, saying we meet up in the Tulip Bowl, it'll be -3-2. You win.
They'll be like, "Give Gus an extension." I swear. You also have number 19 Marshall and Florida International that is postponed. I think that was due to COVID, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think Florida called it off. Florida International called it off.
All right, now we're starting to roll into the bigger games. You got Boston College at Clemson. As we talked about, Clemson starting quarterback will not be there, but I do not think that's 11 a.m. kickoff time on ABC. I don't think it's going to make any difference. Clemson is just stacked with 4- and 5-star players.
Yeah.
Boston College will be lucky if they can hang with them, in my opinion. At least it's one of those, well, last night was a full moon.
Yeah, I mean,
You never know. I mean, it's Halloween. Who knows what might kind of go? It might be an upset.
I don't see it happening. A few years back, when I believe Clemson may have won the national championship, Boston College gave them one of their toughest bouts in the ACC, and that was still about a 14-point win for Clemson. So the new quarterback, I don't think it changes that defense much. I have them 5th in the NCAA has them 13th, but a lot of teams in front of them, 5, have only played 1 game. So I put them 5 places ahead and have them at 8th. Sorry, not 5th. I can't read my right.
Next up, you got number 5 Georgia taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. 11 a.m. kickoff time on SEC Network. Kentucky, devastating year for them. I've talked to a lot of Kentucky fans who thought that this was going to be their good year, and it ain't looking great for them. They do got Joey Gatewood now, I believe, that's going to get the start. The transfer from Auburn. Georgia has only 1 loss this year, and it was against Alabama. Other than that, to me, Georgia has looked phenomenal. I think Georgia gets this one done easily.
I think so, too. This is going to be a game coming off that loss, but, again, they got like the 15th ranked defense. That's a quarterback. Probably better than that when you dive into the numbers. But Georgia's going to take the East. I mean, it's all but settled pretty much.
Pretty much. Next up, you got Memphis at number 7, Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off a big win over SMU. 11 a.m. kickoff time, ESPN. I just got to go with Cincinnati in this one just because of their dominant performance over SMU the way they did.
Cincinnati, to me, Tom, real quick, I didn't get into their stats a lot, but I did want to say I'm really excited for this game. This is Cincinnati, who's good at both sides of the ball. Luke Fickell there, who Ohio State basically turned down a few years back, and he's took Cincinnati and turned them into a legit seventh ranked program, or what number did you say? Is it
seventh?
Because a few sites varied and stuff, but Memphis' worst defense in all of college football, or near the back. So I look for them to just rout.
Yeah, me too. Next up, you got Michigan State and Michigan. Michigan State's already got a loss this year. Michigan looked really good this past week. Has Hardboiled finally starting to find the niche over at Michigan, or is it just the hot seat that's got his ass and doing pretty good now? He was one of those guys that a lot of people predicted when he went there many years ago. They'd done been to a national championship by now.
They had done 1-3 at this. That's he never beat Urban or Ryan Day at this point. Michigan looked great though, like you said. Michigan State looked awful against Rutgers of all teams with the fighting Shiano's back.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to go Michigan there, but we'll see what happens in the later weeks though.
All right. All right. Let's see here. Next up, you got Kansas State at the Big West Virginia, 11 a.m. kickoff time, ESPN2. I went with West Virginia in this. I guess you could call this our where's the damn button? There it is.
I mean, we would need an act of Congress and a miracle from God. I think we can get it done. We're still up there defensively. I don't know how. It seems like we're the most penalized team in college football. Fields last week in the secondary got ejected for targeting. I mean, if we could put Arkansas State beat them, so why can't we? But I think Kansas State beats us, honestly. If we let Henry Columbia run all over us, why can't whoever whatchamacallit is from Kansas State? I think Kansas State beats us.
Right. Let's go and take our first commercial break. We'll be right back.
So bad outside the bar, heading out as far away I can. Heart is pounding, got so damn out of hand. Doing 90 through the city night. Nothing's ever gonna be alright. Life will never be what it was. Hands are shaking, 'cause now my future is crashing down on me. They try to kill me when I fought back. Break the scotch with a baseball bat. The justice will never make this right. I need to run and stay out of sight. And no choice, it was me or them. Now for a lifetime I'm condemned. I could forget my old set way of life. I go to prison or die,
That is the Total Nonstop Podcast. Catch it every Thursday through Pinfall Productions. Me and the Moose Man, Gene Emerson, bringing you all the weekly recaps of what's going on in the news that's going on in WWE and AEW and others. What game was we on? Let's say we just did Kansas State, didn't we?
Yeah. You guys killed it Thursday, by the way. I enjoyed the show.
Thanks, man.
Gene the Moose Man.
The Moose Man. He all the way up our Moose country. Next up, you got number 20, Coastal Carolina at Georgia State. 11 a.m. kickoff time, ESPNU. I know a lot of people might not think this game's going to be interesting, and it might not be interesting, but I'm keeping an eye on Coastal Carolina just because now they're undefeated. They, like you said, you said they had a killer defense, so
yeah,
they could be the UCF of 2020.
They really could be, and maybe run into next year, and that's how you got to do it. Unfortunately, if you're the non-power 5, but I mean, so far, they beat Kansas, and that ain't saying much. But not only beat them. They whipped up on them pretty good.
That's saying a lot for Coastal Carolina.
Absolutely.
I mean, because if you compare Kansas to Coastal Carolina, Kansas probably still gets better recruits than Coastal Carolina usually does. So even as bad as Kansas is, I try to give Les Miles a little bit of credit. He is at Kansas. I think maybe if he's there for another 3, 4, or 5 years, and he stays there, he might end up having a 7-win season, 8-win season or something with them or something,
That's their hope. We'll see. I mean, we'll get into that one shortly. But Coastal Carolina, their quarterback's done awesome. 4 rushers with over 165 yards.
Yeah.
Some of them with 300. I mean, that's incredible.
Next up, you got number 23, Iowa State at Kansas. 11 a.m. kickoff time on FSU. Speaking of Kansas, I got them losing here to Iowa State. They'll probably lose to Iowa State. I figure I'm just going to say 20 points at least. Kansas don't have no damn defense, man. But like I said, Les Miles walked into a world of shit when he took that job anyway. I mean, that was.
For his sake, he would have waited.
I think he would have been smart if he would have waited. I think if he'd have waited a few years before he took another job, he would have got a way better job than Kansas. The way the coaching carousel is in college football, and teams start getting desperate and looking for answers, so they start reaching out to some of them older coaches that might have had some glory days or something. They don't care what his record was at LSU when he left. Oh, hell, he won a national championship. That's all they cared about. I mean, it's on his resume. So he could have possibly got a
maybe even a Texas job. I'm not putting Herman.
Hey, that wouldn't have been a bad idea to try to bring him over there and see what he could have done. He couldn't have done any worse. Texas has definitely fell off the days of glory. But if he might have paid it patient, he might have could have ended up getting possibly a Tennessee job maybe, or you never know, because sometimes they'll hire him just because we'll hire him over here for them to beat him.
That championship means a ton. Even he had Nick Saban's players at that time, but look at what Texas gets. Look at Tennessee's always great at recruiting, like you mentioned. Plenty of teams get the players and just can't coach them up.
Yep.
I did want to say Iowa State's probably going to break there. I'm about guaranteed they're going to be over 1,000 rushing yards by today. They're sitting on 946 right now. Brock Purdy already has close to 1,100 yards passing, so he's going to get lit up.
I'm going to look real quick. Brandon has, he's calling Michigan State for the upset since we didn't pass that game on Michigan.
Really?
Yeah.
Has he been drinking this week a lot?
I could possibly see it. I mean, just because it's Michigan State has kind of owned their ass for the past.
Yeah, you're right.
In that series back and forth, but I don't know. I think maybe this might be Jim Harbaugh's good football team that he's finally put together. He's not had a real great one since he's been there, like we had talked about. He's had an average team, so he's not even won his damn conference, has he? No.
The year he came kind of close was the year Michigan State. Well, Ohio State also knocked him out.
That's when both of them were good that year. Michigan State was good that year, and Ohio State was. So, Ohio State's pretty much good every damn year.
That's a given. I think they're buying them off.
I mean, they got 5 stars for their 5 stars. I mean, they got 5 stars falling out of the 5 stars pocket. You know what I mean? Up there at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Next up, you have UTSA at Florida Atlantic. I went UTSA on this one. It's another one of those I don't give a shit games. So I'll pick Boss's team here and go UTSA just because they won that one last week.
I'm gonna pick them also. I think they're second in the conference. Maybe I want to say I could be. I didn't look up them too much. Sorry, boss man again.
Yeah, I don't know. San Antonio. We don't look up San Antonio's stats unless it's the Spurs or something. Yeah. Next up, you got Temple and Tulane, 11 a.m. kickoff time. I took Temple in this one. It's another one of those kind of toss-up games. I know Temple's pretty bad. I've seen it. I know they've lost some games this year, but I think Tulane has too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so
it's teams,
you got Purdue and Illinois. It's got BTN on here. I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not. but it don't have postpone on it. So to be announced is what that usually BTN means. So I don't know. I took Purdue in this one.
Purdue's leading the west side of the Big Ten. I mean, we're one weekend, but still one in Illinois. Lovie Smith, I love Lovie Smith, and for whatever reason he sucks at Illinois.
I always put, like I said, I don't know. I got those teams that I ain't never seen be good in my time, so I always hope they do good. Illinois is one of those teams.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I don't even have no connection to fucking Illinois. It's just, I just want to see other teams do good. I think it's the same thing. Like even with pro sports, like pro basketball, I don't have a team in pro ball. I just get tired of watching the same basketball team be dominant for year after year after year after year. It's like, all right, man, let's mix it up a little bit. Like I hate Golden State now just because of that reason. Never hated Golden State before, but because they won all those championships, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so sick of hearing about Stephen Curry. You know what I'm saying?
Same. He's likable, but not on the court. You know?
Oh goodness. Next up, you got Wake Forest at Syracuse. Syracuse being one of those teams I always wish would win. I took them in this. Took the Orangemen in this one too. I know they're not that great though.
How many times have you took the Orange, Tommy?
Probably every time, because they've not played nobody that I like. You know what I mean? So I probably took them every damn time.
I was just curious. I mean, I just wanted to know. They could today. I hope they do. You know.
Brandon says Tulane's 2-4 and Temple is 1-2. So yeah, they're both pretty terrible. I knew they both had lost some games.
Yeah.
There's just too many good games on most time when those teams are playing. If they would put those teams more like on a Tuesday or something, I would catch a lot more of them.
Yeah. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Tuesdays especially, because there's nothing really to compete with. Well, mine this Tuesday, I guess. I heard there's an election.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple weeks, but
I'll tell you, I'd be so glad when that shit's over with. I'm so sick of hearing about it.
it's the same. You can't even turn TV on right.
This is what I say now. I don't get into politics, but people usually say, or I try not to talk politics with people because people
Right.
get mad. Somebody's at people, you know, there used to be a time that I would probably debate it a little bit. Oh, okay, well, I believe this, and this, and this how it should be. It's got to the point, brother. I just want it over with. I don't even give a shit who gets elected at this point. I just want to stop hearing about it. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I want to do. Just want to stop hearing about it.
We're probably well be. I want to see Brandon Randall in there. I know he's a politician and he's going to do right. And
what if we all just went and wrote him in? You know,
we should. Could we get that started today? Guys,
just write him in. Next up, you got the once upon a time mighty Giants of Central Florida taking on Houston at 1 p.m. Everybody knows how I feel about Central Florida on this show. I've not kept it quiet.
Yeah.
It's mostly their fan base, guys. I bet you the college is beautiful down there. The fan base, though, gets a little on my nerves. I ain't gonna lie. I still.
My sign. What would they take Alabama? What? I'm with you. I can't. You know, I couldn't stand that. They Baylor, I think, that year and thought they were the toughest program around. But
after playing, you know, mighty teams like Rice and you know all that through the year, talking about we slacking everybody. You hung 42 on Rice. Okay, brother. I do got Houston going over in this one. Not by much, probably. This will probably going to be one of those shootout tight games, like a, you know, it'll be within a field goal or so. I figure we'll probably end up winning it. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff time on ESPNU. You also have Rice and Southern Mississippi. I couldn't tell you nothing about neither one of those teams, really. I picked Rice.
Yeah. That Houston game, I tend to go with you on your picks when close knit games because you've been right way more oftentimes than not this season about the shootout. So
yeah. You hear that, Brandon? Who's the real man of genius? Who's the real man of genius? Next up, you have finally starting getting some better games. So you got Troy and Arkansas State. I took Troy in that one. State pride thing. Next up, you have Notre Dame, number 4 Notre Dame at Georgia Tech. I would love to sit here and tell you that Georgia Tech is going to beat Notre Dame.
I'd love to hear it.
But I can't do it. I had to go with the Irish, man. They looked really good last week, man.
They did, and about 2 weeks ago, who hung tight with them? It was one of the ACC lower teams.
Wasn't it like a FSU or someone like that?
I think it was FSU. You're right.
Yeah, because the FSU had been struggling all year, and we blew away how they hung with them.
Yeah, and now they look back on track, and they get who you just mentioned, Notre Dame, and I had it written down somewhere. The only reason they could lose would be if they looked ahead. Georgia Tech. If they looked like they did a few years ago with Pitt. I know Pitt had their number there for a time or two, but they got Clemson next week, and I know we can't even talk about next week yet, but I don't see them or Clemson either one dropping just yet. Wait one more
week, and Notre Dame will be exposed. Next up, you got Indiana at Rutgers. Indiana coming off that big win against Penn State last week. Rutgers actually come off a big win. I guess you could say a big win.
Mm-hmm.
I took Rutgers in this, so we will call that the big. I just don't think Indiana's consistent.
I'm with you, and I was going to say, I'm glad you did. We're on the same page. Can I read 2 little stats off real quick?
Yep.
Now the Rutgers didn't look great offensively. They did have 4 total rushing touchdowns. Michigan State's defense wasn't what it was cracked up to be, though. But the defense had 2 interceptions and 5 fumble recoveries, 5 forced fumbles, 5 recoveries. Brandon White, one of the defensive backs, had an interception and one of the recoveries. And nothing really flashes with Indiana. Yeah, they played with Penn State, but they had two touchdowns, 57 rushing yards, and the quarterback was below average. We'll put it mildly.
Yeah, Indiana's just one of those teams that they're going to get those every 2 to 3 years. They'll get one of those big wins that they shouldn't have got, and I think it was just due for one of them. They get one over on Penn. I don't think they're as good as it looks that they are.
Right.
And of course, people forget that was Penn State's first game.
Yeah, and the Big Ten, we still got questions. Mm-hmm. The only question that could be answered is Ohio State is that good right now.
Of course they are.
But I'm with you. I think that Indiana loses today and loses that 16th ranking.
Mm-hmm. Next up, you got the UAB Blazers at Louisiana Tech, 2:30 kickoff time. That game is not televised. I got UAB in this one. I can't help it. Next up, you got TCU and Baylor.
Oh, Lord.
Nah, man, I hated to pick this game because I know TCU and Baylor both have let me down on picks this year. Okay, so I took TCU.
I mean, that's fair enough. I feel like if you're going to punish your kid or something, you make them watch this game.
Yeah.
This is nap time, guys, whatever time.
It's going to be sloppy. It'll be a bunch of turnovers probably, or a bunch of 3 and outs and putting the ball back and forth. Usually I would say that this would be a 50-point game, and it might go that way. But just because both of them are struggling this year. Next up, you got LSU, the defending national champions, against the Auburn Tigers down on the plains. You got on 2:30 kickoff time, CBS. Of course, everybody knows who I'm going with. I took Auburn. That's just team pride. Don't think for a second that I have any whatsoever amount of confidence in my team this year. All I've heard is last week about how good we looked. You know, Bo had a high quarterback rating. You had 2 players. You had one that tied. One was freshman player of the week, and one was SEC player of the week, and they was all excited about this big win and how good we looked and how poised we stayed. It was fucking Ole Miss. That's all it needs to be said. Ole Miss has no, like we talked last week. Ole Miss was what? One up from being last in defense.
They were next to last. Memphis was one behind them.
Memphis is the worst defense. So Memphis was right above. Ole Miss was right above Memphis in defensive stats. Auburn still struggled with them. I don't give a damn if they won the game or not. They still struggled with them. And there was another controversial call in that game where, and I will say it because I call it fair, Ole Miss probably should have won that game on that kickoff for that punt. I mean, it touched Auburn's hand clear as day. Even on the replay, when they replayed it and they went back and showed, you could see his finger so hard it moved his hand back. That's how hard the football hit his finger before it rode into the end zone, and Ole Miss recovered it. That should have been a touchdown. And Ole Miss got screwed out of that one. They got screwed out of 7. So they probably should have won the game. They probably should have ended up beating Auburn by a touchdown because they got screwed out of that touchdown. SEC officiating this year is freaking terrible, dude. It is probably – SEC's never had great referees. I'll be the first to admit the referees has always been blind as a bat. But, dude, I mean, it is terrible this year. And it's not just in the Auburn games. Like the other SEC games I've watched, they make some really bad calls. That don't even make no sense. I mean,
they've been – Lane Kiffin came out. I think it cost him $25K or something like that. But
Lane Kiffin, I understand his frustrations, but he knows that this is a throwaway year anyway. This is just for him to get some of his team right. He had no time to recruit, no time to practice, really. He had to throw his team together and start the season because of how late he was brought in and with the COVID stuff. Lane Kiffin needs to shut the hell up. Okay, I've been bragging on Lane that Lane had maybe grew up a little bit, you know, and stop being immature. If you really think that the NCAA and SEC is going to reverse something like that after it has happened, they're not going to do it, man. I don't give a damn how much you bitch. And don't sit here and yell for a replay, a rematch. They ain't going to make them play another game. I mean, it's just not. You're just going to have to bury that one and go on about your business, Lane. You know, put it back there in the back of your head where you have Florida, USC, Tennessee, all those coaching jobs, you know, that you had to bite the bullet because you sucked and you couldn't get it done. Put that loss back there with those losses. So,
losses.
Yeah.
And
Mr.
by the way,
if you will, HD Morgan.
What is up, Will? How are you, my friend? We were talking LSU also. I have a question for you, and if Brandon's still watching or whatever. Is this the year? I think I got it on the back here. No, it's on the front. Is this a do or die game for Gus? I mean, I know you're a strong proponent a critic of Gus, deservedly so. But does Coach O, does he touch the hot seat at all this season? Is this a throwaway season for him? And they're like, well, next year, because LSU or the state of Louisiana in general is known for having great recruiting. So what happens there if a sexy name pops up? Are both of these coaches kind of in trouble?
I'll tell you from the Auburn side. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, that's mainly
Auburn probably is not going to fire Gus until after next season. Because the contract is still way too high, the buyout, because they would have to buy him out and then hire another coach. And they definitely couldn't go after no one that was already somewhere else because they'd have to buy him out over there also to bring him over. So I don't see Gus going nowhere. I would love to sit here and say that after this LSU loss that he might be on the hot seat, but it feels like Gus is on the hot seat every year.
Yeah.
Like every year he's been on the hot seat almost since he's been at Auburn. Coach O, it's kind of the same thing with him in a sense that I would want to sit here and say that there's a possibility LSU might fire him after this year. If he ends up having a terrible season for the rest of the season. National championships don't mean nothing. Look at Auburn and Gene Chizik.
Yeah.
Gene Chizik won a national championship. We fired his ass after the next season because he couldn't get nothing done. It's SEC. It's too competitive. LSU's too big of a school. They're not going to sit on losses very often. They don't play that shit over in LSU. So I don't know, man. I think Coach O's got some personal stuff going on outside of football also.
Yeah.
I think that's probably more LSU's administration concern than actually the football thing. I don't know if it was a distraction or what, but it definitely looked like it was a distraction.
Right. I just wonder because they kept that on what some they feel what is too long or whatever, but the people love it. And Les got it done. He won his national championship run. Never did. And I just wonder about that for Coach O especially, but I'm glad I got your take on, Gus also. Because people forget about the buyout clauses and then going and hiring another top-notch coach. And
there's also that thing too, like do you fire him and do you lose the recruits that you got coming in? Because there are guys that are dedicated to Gus. I mean, people forget, okay, let's be real. There's two ways to look at a head coach. There's a way to look at him from a player standpoint, and there's a way to look at him from a fan standpoint. Players tend to look at coaches different than fans do.
Yeah.
You have a lot of dedicated Gus players that love Gus, but you also have a lot of guys that speak out that say they can't stand him, so, I mean, Coach O is a pimp and his game is strong. Y'all leave him alone. Hey, I ain't mad at him. I mean,
glad I got a take on that.
Yeah, we asked football, and he got to talk about Coach O and the TD in the hot tub thing. So, I don't know, man. I want him gone, but it's also that thing too that everybody questions: who the hell do we get? Who do we go after?
I have I'll wait till we get to that game, but I have a coach, at least a question if you would like him. But we'll get to that in a moment.
Next up, you have, where was we? Auburn
LSU was the last.
Scroll down a little bit here. Let's take a commercial break real quick. We can do that in just a second. We'll return after this.
Video package, by the way. You guys do great. All the packages that come out, pinfall, all these, man, all these.
That bird was for Mr. Brandon Randall down there who wants to talk about some Auburn needs some Les Miles. No, the hell we don't need no damn grass-eating ass goat want to be Les Miles. We want to win, not have a 7-win season. We got that, We don't need LSU's leftovers.
The sloppy seconds, is that what he's trying to give you?
Yeah, fucking Les Miles. I need you to take your hand and slap yourself right across your top of your bald head right here. Les Miles.
If he don't get away from Kansas, he's going to be coaching my alma mater at Wyoming East High School, Double A, where they have 0 wins this season.
Les Miles was brought up in a coaching discussion one time, but like I said, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Next up, you got Northwestern at Iowa. I've got – who did I take in this one? I'm pretty sure I took Iowa. Yeah, I did. Iowa, because I like Iowa. I knew I took them probably.
Yeah.
That's 2:30 kickoff time, ESPN. The old Hawkeyes, I've got them in this one. Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken, won last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they beat – shit, who do they beat? I think they beat one of my picks because I didn't pick them. Was it Maryland?
I know it was a Big Ten's all playing each other, so that wasn't much help. But it could have been Maryland.
I think it was Maryland. They end up probably so because I usually pick Maryland a lot too. So, but I got Iowa winning this one. I have no idea about these teams, guys. I can't sit here and tell you how close it's going to be. Not until another couple of weeks. So I watch them play.
Weeks for Big Ten to really tell. At least 3, probably 4. We got teams. Wisconsin dropped out basically.
Yeah, Wisconsin said the hell with it. They're not playing.
Favorite year. To rep the West. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I like Wisconsin too, man. They're usually pretty good. They're always usually got like at least a 7-8 win season.
Yeah,
they just can't never get like over that hump to get to the playoffs or get to the championship. Yeah. And if they usually go to does Big Ten play a championship still?
Yeah, Big Ten. Yeah, they play in Indianapolis. And you got Ohio State to play or Michigan. State.
Or Michigan. Yeah, they always have to play one of them to get on to the next part, and they can't never get past them.
Yeah, it's very difficult for them.
Wisconsin did beat Auburn in a few bowl games. Like within the past 15 years, I think we've played them in a few bowl games, and they've beat us every damn time.
Yeah.
You had Texas up against number 6 Oklahoma State. 3:00 kickoff time on Fox. I went with OK State in this one. As we talked about, Texas is not the Texas team of the past. They're struggling. OK State has looked pretty good this year so far from what I've seen from them. I don't think they're national championship team or nothing like that, but they're definitely going to be a team that's going to get some wins.
I think this is a statement game for Texas, and if they want to hold this is kind of, I'm not saying they're going to fire Todd Herman again or Tom Herman. Sorry, I call him Todd all the time. Tom Herman. But I say Texas has to get it done. So I'm going to pick them for the upset just because I see the Big 12 all pummeling each other and really not making a difference.
Yeah, same here.
And that Russian attack, Chuba Hubbard, is basically it for OK State.
Next up, you got the Lane train at Ole Miss. Let me go ahead. I'm going to say this. I know this might be a little bit of a controversial subject with some people. Why in the hell? I could have swore not long ago, Ole Miss was not the Rebels. Was they not the Land Sharks? And then before the Land Sharks, didn't they have a bear?
Well, they were always the Ole Miss Rebels, right? But they came out, they didn't really say Rebels much.
Oh, now that I've noticed here lately, they've been saying a lot. Like you don't even see the Land Shark anymore. Like I thought that they had the controversial name, and they were going to stop using the term Rebels. I thought that's what they were doing.
Yeah, you see the same thing for all Ole Miss sports, I believe, and I thought the same thing, but apparently they embraced it even more.
I mean, I swear it's like they say Rebels more now than they used to before. I don't know, I mean, I personally don't care. I know them as the Ole Miss Rebels. I thought the Land Sharks was a little weird. Yeah. But you got Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss Rebels taking on Vanderbilt, 2 struggling teams. Vanderbilt is probably going to get blowed out in this one, guys. Lane Kiffin's probably going to hang some major points on Vanderbilt's shitty defense. They still got Ole Miss got the players, definitely on the offensive side of the ball. That quarterback needs to settle down a little bit. He has a tendency to throw more than he should. I think he could have got probably 2 more scores against Auburn if he would have settled in the pocket a little bit more. It wouldn't have been so triggery with his arm and stuff.
Right.
So I got Ole Miss winning this one big. Probably like Vanderbilt probably might score. Well, I don't know. Ole Miss's defense is pretty shitty. Vanderbilt might put up 14 on them, but I see Ole Miss putting up hanging like 40.
Yeah. They did it against Alabama, one of the premier Nick Saban coach. So obviously they can against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that.
Next up, you got Appalachian State and Louisiana Monroe, UL Monroe.
An interesting game.
Who did I take in this one? I think I took. Oh, let's see this one on my board. Well, I guess I did. Yeah, Hare did. I took App State. This is another one of those games I don't know a whole lot about these teams. Virginia Tech at Louisville. I took VT here. They've been letting me down though every time I pick them.
Keep picking them because I hate them.
Next up, you got the number 25 Boise State. They have rolled back into the top 25. I remember when Boise State was kind of like that Central Florida team, who they really didn't play too many teams, but they always had a gripe that they should be. But Boise State had a lot of good gripes. So
yeah, I mean
they
would, and they had a great recruiting. I'm not saying UCF doesn't, but great coach that stayed there, Chris Peterson, I believe it was. But I remember that they were kind of the blueprint for what UCF wants to be.
Right. I always wish they would just go to a different division. Like maybe they need to join it with the ACC or not the ACC shit, the PAC. Or someone out towards that way, man. Just because, man, I would love to see Boise State in a real division so they can actually get a real shot if they ever did have another one of those teams. I love the blue field. I don't care what people say. I think it's cool as hell.
It really Coastal Carolina has the teal.
I seen that, dude. That is so crazy. That shit is blinding.
Something about that, especially if they wore teal jerseys on top of that. They should be the land sharks because, good Lord, I was scared of them for a minute there. But Boise and Oregon actually back, it was Chip Kelly, I think's first or second year at Oregon. They played, and Boise beat them. That was the famous punch by, I forget the run. He was in the NFL for a while. LeGarrette Blunt. And it fits you perfectly because he got in trouble for smoking them all the time.
Was that the same one? Was that the same years that they beat Oklahoma in the bowl?
Yeah, a few years after, but they were basically unbeatable if they could get to that was like BCS.
Yeah.
For rocking it, they just never got their chance.
Yeah, the BCS screwed a lot of people. The BCS screwed a lot of teams I watched. If they wasn't major teams, they wouldn't even consider putting them in the top 25 sometimes. Next up, you got Mississippi State at number 2, Alabama. Why Alabama is number 2, I'll be honest with y'all, I don't know. Alabama should be number 1. That pains me to say, but it's true. They've dominated all year. Everybody they've played, they've pretty much steamrolled. I mean, their quarterback is having already a Heisman-looking year. I mean, it's insane how good Mac Jones looks. It makes me sick of my stomach. Nick Saban's putting together another good team. Their defense did look like it had some slippage in it in that Ole Miss game. But then, like, Nick did what Nick Saban does, and he just, like, went in there and waved a magic freaking wand and fixed the defense. You know, so now that the whole team looks solid again. Hell, even their kickers are actually starting to make field goals.
I was say, even putting the stats down defensively, they've already moved up above NCAA stat by like 15 or 20 spots, and that just shows what they're about. I made a quick note. Sorry if I echo. Cutting out.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
Oh, well, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Mississippi State will either hang around and lose by 10 to Bama or get blown out by 7.
I'll be real. You know, like I've said, Alabama's probably going to go on to win a national championship this year. breaks my heart. It does. They don't need no more damn national championships. Hell, they even claim ones they don't even have. They have so damn many.
Right.
Next up, you got. But yeah, they blow out Mississippi State easily.
Yeah.
Next up, you got New Mexico at San Jose State. I took San, but I've not watched neither one of these play this year. I've not watched New Mexico or them. So I remember San Jose State was pretty good. Like, weren't they pretty good? Like, I don't know, or they were average, like 7 years ago or something.
Yeah, a couple of those West Coast, Big West. They've had a few good college football teams.
Next up, you got Charlotte and Duke. Well, it's not a big upset, but I got Charlotte over Duke. I watched them some last week. They look pretty impressive for what little bit I watched them. They're not ranked, but they have got a few little wins this year that they probably shouldn't have got. Charlotte's one of those teams that we've been saying every week. We're just like, we don't even know who the hell they are. We just kind of just throw it in the dark. I finally sit down and watched a little bit of their game. They're not terrible for the division that they're in. If Duke goes in there and slips, I think they can get the win. Next up, you got the game of the week. That's what we're going to call this one. The Ohio State Buckeyes versus number 18 Penn State. The reason I call this game of the week, too, is because Penn State's quarterback come out and sent a tweet out and said something along the lines of, I didn't come to Penn State just to play at Penn State. I came to Penn State to beat Ohio State. That is why he went to Penn State. So this is already a rivalry game between Penn State and Ohio State. They already don't like each other. I want to pick Penn State so damn bad. I want to pick them so bad. I'm still going to be pulling for Penn State, but I'm taking OSU in this one. I think Ohio State ends up beating the shit out of them because if you can't get it done against a simple Indiana team, I don't think you're going to get it done against Ohio State. But then again, like I said, that was Penn State's first game. Could have been first game jitters. I'm hoping, I'm praying. I mean, because it's not like they had time to freaking practice, okay?
Right.
The Big Ten's had all the time in the world to practice and be set and get ready. That's probably one reason why Ohio State's going to be so good because they've had all this time to prepare. So I got Ohio State winning this one. Penn State might do some little flashy, dancy, put up 21 points, type of game. First half, it might look kind of close, and then second half, I figure Ohio State will go ahead and pull on away, and then pull away pretty big, pull away like hang up 45, 50 points possibly. Penn State might put up 30, I'm thinking, or something. I see it being a high score game.
That defense of Ohio State, I can hear myself. I know my internet's right now, probably.
You got to kick it.
Kick it a little bit. Can you hear me a little bit? Okay. I really see them skunking Penn State. I mean, they could score 24, 30, like you said, but Ohio State may score 60 because that offense is so good. Justin Fields looks amazing. And I mean, with Trevor Lawrence out, he could basically win the Heisman Trophy.
He could,
depending on how long he's out, of course, unless he calls the next doctors up and says, hey, got to play.
he possibly could sneak in there and grab it. If Lawrence is out for 2 to 3 games or something, if it happens that way, 2 to 3 games matters in the Heisman race. That's big. Even if Lawrence come out and wanted to come back and Clemson went on to win a national championship, but just the numbers alone will hurt him if he misses more than 1 game. So I don't think this 1 game would make a difference in it, but if he misses more than that, it definitely could. It's going to be a good game, man. 6:30 kickoff time on ABC. I'm definitely going to try to watch as much as I can of that one. I'm very busy today, it being Halloween and stuff, so but I'm still going to try to keep an eye on that one.
Scary game in state. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Next up, you got Arkansas at number 8, Texas A&M. Texas A&M still hanging in the top 10 there. Looking to keep playing upset all year on SEC teams since they're on probation. I've got them win this one probably pretty, I ain't going to say huge, but I got them beating Arkansas.
Arkansas's a couple little tricks this year. I think they beat, well, they're already, they've won more SEC games this year than they have in the previous, like 5 or something like that. But this is where I'm going to bring up a coaching change. Mr. Tommy, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me read off a stat if I have it. I put Arkansas must airball to beat, and then I put keep up. Texas, Felipe Frank got 8 touchdown passes. He'll go over 1,000. Got 977 yards. But here's the thing here. You mentioned last week or a few weeks back we talked a little bit of Baylor football, and Art Briles was kind of mentioned before to replace Gus Malzahn. I loved Art Briles' offense. I thought it was phenomenal. He got RG3 that Heisman Trophy, basically, his scheme, Well, his son Kendall is the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. And they're not paying him much. I mean, I don't expect. And Arkansas doesn't pop, but again, their offense does look a lot different than years previous.
Right.
So would you mind could I throw Kendall Briles in there as a top 5 potential candidate to replace Gus Malzahn?
Yes. Let's see. We'll go ahead and write these out and see how this plays out.
That's kind of like a keep an eye on, or if I was, because Kendall, he went with Lane to Florida Atlantic, and they did, pretty decent. They didn't beat any world-class teams, but they weren't expected to. And Kendall, same, learned from his pop how to coach. And I don't know. I just think it would be interesting.
We'll put him on the top 5 list. I got 5 spots here wrote out. After we finish these other couple of games, we'll go over this coaching, fill these top 5 out and see if maybe something might play out like that. Next up, you got, where was I? There I am. Next up, you got Missouri at number 10, Florida. Let me hit the button. No, I'm playing. They're not going to go to the swamp and beat Florida. Florida's going to kill Missouri, probably. If Florida will play the way Florida played at the beginning of the season, and they don't play like they did in that one game that they don't like to talk about, Florida will be fine against Missouri. Missouri has had some upset wins this year. They beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
They beat, what was it, South Carolina? They beat another team they wouldn't, but no, Tennessee. Wasn't Tennessee?
I think I know they've won two, at least 2 SEC games.
Yeah, I know they've won 2 SEC team games. I can't remember who the other one was. One was Kentucky, the other one was someone else. But I know they weren't supposed to win either one of them because Missouri's LSU. That's who it was. Because remember, I took Missouri over LSU. That's exactly who it was. That's exactly who it was. Yeah, I remember that upset pick when I hit that button and Brendan laughed. He said, "There ain't no way. There ain't no way." I got Florida winning this one though. 6:30 kickoff time. SEC alternate channel. Next up, you got Navy at SMU, and I know that I usually take every military pick that I can take, but this one I had to take SMU just for pick's sakes.
Yeah,
I got SMU winning this one. Navy does not look real great this year, and I know people are saying, "Well, Navy never looks great." Okay, there's some Navy teams that are kind of average, and there's some Navy teams that ain't that great. Okay, listen.
they've won 10+ games before,
They have,
and I think it's just about getting that triple option person in there for Navy, and this year they don't have it. Shane Bichelle and Sonny Dykes, the Sonny Dykes offense at SMU looks. I think they win easy.
Next up, you got North Carolina at Virginia. North Carolina finally getting a loss. They did not look good in that game after looking like a national championship contender all year. I took North Carolina in this one, though, still over Virginia. Virginia's pretty terrible. Been terrible for years. You also got number 24, Oklahoma. That sounds weird. Number 24, Oklahoma. That just don't even sound right. I'm sorry, it just don't.
I like to hear it, but it does sound weird.
I'm not a boomer Sooner myself. I don't really care for the Sooners. Number 24, Oklahoma and Texas Tech. 7 o'clock on Fox. I took Oklahoma in this game. Just because they're Oklahoma, but they're not the Oklahoma of the past. I can tell you that.
No, different quarterback, and they didn't get their transfer from another awesome college like they've done in the past. I could see them. This could be a trap game, but I think they get it done. Texas Tech played great last week with Henry Colombi, the long-haired kid. He was chucking it everywhere for his coach, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm picking OU also.
Hell yeah. Next up, you got Louisiana at Texas State. 7 p.m. kickoff time. ESPNU. I'm going to go with Texas State on this one. Next up, you got San Diego State and Utah State. I don't remember who I picked for this one. Utah State's who I picked. It was basically a flip of a coin. San Diego State's usually pretty decent, middle of the road, sort of. I just kind of went with Utah State just to see what happens. I've not watched either one of them this year, so.
Same. I haven't seen. I don't know anything about them really, to be honest.
I kept up with San Diego State there for a little while because they were getting pretty decent.
Yeah.
I don't know. They got some cool uniforms.
I love the black and red.
Yeah. Next up, you got Western Kentucky at number 11, BYU. 9:15 kickoff time. This is going to be a late game. If you ain't got nothing to do and you're just kind of sitting around, ain't nothing on TV, this would be a good one. Probably kind of just catch you out, kind of flip over and see what's going on. Mm-hmm. BYU should end up winning this one pretty big. If they don't, I'll be shocked.
11th, they lead the Independents right now, 11th ranked, 6-0. I think they'll win. I think they beat Western Kentucky.
Looks like Mr. Morgan here was matching my picks. He went with Utah State and Texas State. Next up, we got Nevada at UNLV. 9:30 kickoff time. FS1. I went with UNLV in this one. I could really give a shit who wins this one, to be honest with you. But
I don't.
Just to mention, also you had Wisconsin and Nebraska that was canceled, and North Texas and UTEP is postponed.
Right.
So I'll have to mark that down because I did pick one of those teams. I think it was North Texas. I ended up picking. Yeah, right there. All right, let's talk about these coaching hires real quick.
That's what I love the most.
If Gus Malzahn was to get fired after this LSU game or at the end of the season, as you said, you want to put Art Kendall. Is that his name, or Kendall Art?
Kendall Browse. Art Browse's son.
Oh, okay, Browse. Okay, I thought you said.
He's the Arkansas, which I was saying both names a lot. Sorry about that. He is the current offensive coordinator at Arkansas.
All right, we'll slide him in at the number 5 spot.
Fair enough.
All right. Number 4. I know a lot of people keep mentioning Lane Kiffin at Auburn. You're not going to get Lane right now. Lane just signed with Ole Miss. I just don't see him leaving Ole Miss right away because it would not look real great on him from a standpoint of even recruiting, I don't think. Because you was just over there last year and you was only there a year and now you're over here. Well, you were just telling me last year that was the place to come to. Now you're telling me now you're telling me Auburn's the place to come to. So I don't think it would work out really, really good. I'm taking Lane completely off the coaching list. I kind of was looking at him at first, but I just don't think we'll be able to get him.
That's a great reason to mention, though. I really like that thinking behind that, because Lane hasn't thought that through in the past.
He just kind of jumped whenever whoever was throwing dollars at him. So I think if he's wanting to seclude himself now he can stay there for a few years and then go somewhere else. I mean, Tommy Tubble did it. He jumped from Ole Miss to Auburn. He was at Ole Miss first, but he was there for a few years. So Auburn's definitely the better coaching job out of the two. Is definitely gonna get better recruits. I just don't think they would be able to pay him what he would want and still be able to buy out Gus at the same time. So it is real hard to come up with 5 good coaches. You got another one?
It really is, man. I'm going to throw one in there. At least, well, who's one to? We need to try to steal somebody from the Big 12, get somebody out of that conference. And I say it each week, Tom Herman. Why not make a play for him? Texas right now. He was recruited by, in the coach carousel a few years ago, by LSU and he basically told LSU no, he wanted to go to Texas. He said he wanted to stay at Houston first, but he wanted to go to Texas Longhorns. So I think he's going to have a little bit more success on any other team than Texas. For whatever reason, they are cursed, the Longhorns. So maybe Tom Herman, if you can get some kind of meeting with him.
How does Lane still have a job? He's a offensive mastermind, man. I mean,
now here's a question for you, Tommy. Do you stay offensively because of the recruits that Gus has already? We know he goes for the athletic type, speedy guys.
I would like someone that would come in there and do what Auburn usually does. Is Auburn has a tendency of every now and then they would kind of, years ago, everybody was running kind of the smash mouth type offense in the SEC. All right. Auburn was the first one to go the spread in the SEC. They was the first one to spread everything out. As the first one to start running all that open option stuff and all this other shit. So now that everyone's running that, I think Auburn would be smart if they went back to just smash mouth football, the way they used to play football. But they're gonna have to get some better size, some bigger boys than what they got. That's got a little bit of speed. I would just like someone who would come there probably on the offensive, because you got Kevin. If whoever comes in needs to keep Kevin still.
Yeah.
They don't need to fire Kevin. They need to keep Kevin and just bring in another head coach. Now, I know a head coach always wants to bring in his own crew. Most of the time, usually that's the first thing that happens. They come in and they clean house and they fire everybody out there. But I would like to see Kevin Steele stay. Now, I don't like the way Kevin Steele's defense looks this year. And at one time, a lot of people are saying Kevin Steele should be the next hire.
I remember you saying that one of the first, because I love coaching changes. I know it sounds terrible, but these guys know what they're signing up for. They're going to be fired. They're going to be replaced.
You know what? I'm going to put Steele on that list.
I was going to ask you, and if you want to wait, I mean, we can always wait until next week, kind of see if anything blossoms out or anything like that. But I have an NFL guy in mind. I don't know the contract situation. I don't know the interest.
Yeah, but I've been looking at a couple of NFL guys too.
Throw some out there, but the one that interests me the most, Eric Bieniemy of the Kansas City Chiefs, offensive coordinator. If you threw the right dollar, look how he controls that Kansas City offense.
Yep.
It is him and Andy Reid together, but Colorado, the Buffaloes, wanted to make a play after him, and he thought about it, I believe, but he ultimately wanted to stay in Kansas City. So Bieniemy, wherever he goes, I just see fantastic results.
I think if Auburn wanted to spend the money, you'd go after San Francisco's head coach.
Really, Shanahan. That'd be interesting because hopefully he wouldn't have to worry about clock management, where he seems to suck at in the Super Bowls.
Oh Lordy, look at William.
But he's a phenomenal coach. I really, who Bieniemy or why would who do what, William? That's a great, because I'm just throwing names out. This is always interchanging too. This is ever changing. I'm guessing. I don't know if he's. I don't know which one. He could be talking both. Eric. Well, he is, but he did talk to Colorado just, I think, last year. That's why I say, it's possible. I'm not saying he's going to do it, but he'd be an awesome hire for Auburn, especially if they threw. What's the dollar amount Auburn?
It depends. Hell, they're paying Gus $30 million right now.
Yeah, if you throw that dollar sign at Bieniemy, you may have something. I don't know, potentially. But there's some guys out there if you want to go air raid, because Gus kind of has a it's not, he doesn't do the air raid. He does spread, more of a spread, right? But he can. But anyway, sorry. I don't see Spavital taking it over. There's a ton of those guys though. Graham Harrell at USC.
I don't think Will understands about how good of a coaching job Auburn is.
It's the top tier. It's an A+ program to go to.
Will, bro, there is a lot of NFL coaches that are offensive or defensive coordinators that would love to have a college head coaching job like an Auburn team or Michigan or somebody like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
we've seen that with Charlie Weiss and Bill O'Brien in the past. Bill O'Brien was recent and went back to the NFL and stunk it up, but hopefully he's not the I don't know, the regular. We just had one.
It's because there's a lot of reasons that you go back to coaching kids. I mean, because for one, you're not dealing with some asshole who thinks he's worth $40 million and got an ego this damn big. The kids in college tend to do what the hell they're told. They're a whole lot more in line. You don't have to deal with half it. And college football these days, brother, is paying off big. It's paying.
Yeah. Plus his connections to the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. If he comes to college, he can call his old buddy Andy Reid up. Hey, come to Auburn. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. Look at, that would pay dividends for not only players, but the school. That would make the school want him more, I think, because you could recruit better potentially.
Yeah, he could be close to a head gig, but man, be honest with you, dude, you're treated better at a university than you are. As a head coach over an NFL team. NFL expects too much too damn fast. If it's going to be like his first big like head coaching job or something like that, like yeah, man, like he's got a better chance of going to a college and settling in and kind of getting his feet underneath him. And then if he wants to go on to the pro level after that, and after he proves himself in college, then he'd be fine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, college is a place, it's a spot, man. Nick Saban said, yeah, they pay more. Nick Saban sit back counting his money. Why go to the NFL and deal with a bunch of overpaid crybabies and all this damn hoopla blue blah all the time that they have to deal with, when you can go to college and build a winning program and make more money and have to deal with less shit? Seems like a pretty easy decision to me. Nick Saban, look at Nick Saban. He's a perfect example. Left LSU, went to Miami, looked around and said, fuck this. Alabama said, here's some money. He said, I'm coming back. I'm gone.
Eric Bieniemy, to me, though, would be the perfect fit for a lot of colleges, especially if you want to boost that offense up. I mean, you see Kansas City they had Mahomes, obviously, but they got a 3-headed monster backfield. They got receivers everywhere. If you could imagine that in Auburn, that's the greatest show on turf 2.0 in Auburn.
And you got to look at the standpoint that all assistants are not head pro coaches.
Right.
Just like all college coaches are not head coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it is. He could go. He might fit being a head college coach actually better than being a head coach as an NFL coach.
I think we got it settled. We need to call Eric this week.
We need to call him up. We can call him. Oh, yeah. You know how easy it would be for him to go in there and sit down and just be like, hey, I got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You going to listen to some coach that ain't never played at the NFL level? You're going to listen to me. Like, he probably could kill it in recruiting with that ring on his finger.
And plus, there's nothing really illegal. Say he wanted to go to like a Chiefs practice facility, just show him Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Have that relationship. They have that relationship because Pat loves him. His whole office, Travis Kelce loves him. I mean, I think it's wherever he goes would be great. I'm not saying he's even going to leave, but
yeah, very, very true.
Y'all definitely got a better shot of landing a head coach than West Virginia does. Let me tell you that right now because we don't pay dick.
Amen. All right, guys, that's going to be about wrap it up for us. Let me go ahead and find this. I got to move this damn other picture over here because it is not. It's only on one spot, and then I have to dig for it. Where did it go? Oh, wait a minute. I know where it's at. Oh, bear with me, people. There's only 20 folders over here with 19 million things in it. There you go. If you want to, if you check us out at Pinfall Productions, we have many, many shows, not just this college show. As you say, you got the Huddle that comes on at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. That's for the NFL. Paradigm Shift. We do everything from spotlights to recaps of old pay-per-views. Then you got the Total Nonstop podcast that does recaps of current wrestling shows. Then you got the Geek Gauntlet with Mr. William H.D. Morgan and Gene the Moose Man and Sean, who comes on 7 p.m. Central Time. You check all these out at Pinfall. If you have an idea for a podcast, we want to hear about it at Pinfall Productions. We want you to team up with us. So you can get with anyone here, and we can try to help you make your podcast come true. It is a win-win situation for you. It's a win-win situation for Pinfall. We like to stress that if you try to go do your own thing on your own podcast and made your own page and you had to pay for everything yourself, especially if you wanted to put it on internet radio and all these kind of things, you're going to be paying $100 and something out of pocket by yourself. If you teamed up with us at Pinfall, that cost is split between a bunch of guys. Everyone does their part, helps each other out. It definitely helps your wallet for sure. Not only that, you have a kick-ass team at Pinfall that has your back, especially if you can do your part. It works out great for everyone.
Yeah.
What do you say?
It's all love. It's all love.
Yeah, there's no show tonight, by the way. They did it last night. I forgot about that.
I want to check that out, William, because I was just talking comic books the other night, and I figure there you go. Thank you, Pat White. I have a Pat White jersey. It's smudged up, but I got one. Love Pat too, an Alabama native.
Alabama native. And ain't Nick Saban a West Virginia native?
He is the Mongonalia around there. I don't know where he's from. He and Jimbo Fisher both. Clarksburg.
Don't y'all want him back? I mean, don't y'all want to
Oh Lord, yeah, we can't afford.
Ain't the state missing him? Don't you need to move back up that way? And
I mean, the state. Honestly, I hate to say this. I hate to break your heart, Tommy, but a lot of them root for Alabama just because Nick's there, and they're like Saint Nick.
Oh my God!
But I do that with Jimbo. I root for Jimbo because he don't get half the love, and he's from here also. I wish he would stayed at Florida State, so I would have one reason to like him. But oh well.
What can you do, man? What can you do?
Amazing show, brother. I always love this. I look forward to it all. He is. I mean, I would honestly love him in Morgantown, to be honest, but he'd leave us after a year.
If it's you dirty.
I'm guessing William is a Florida State fan, maybe.
Starting to sound that way. I know he's in Georgia.
Well, he should be happy then, right? If he's But man, I look forward to this weekly. This is fun. It's become part of the routine.
He's an FSU fan.
Yeah. Sorry, William.
Sorry about that, brother.
Jameis got that one though, so.
Hey man. All right, guys. That's going to be it all for our show. Catch us next Saturday with me and Justin Hicks here, where we'll bring you everything you need to know to get your college football day started. Before we go, quick word from our sponsor. All right, guys, much love. And War Damn Eagle. And if LSU wins, Brandon, don't you message me.